Oh, yeah.
So if you want to introduce yourself
Okay.
first, please.
I'm Nick Barney. I'm the fire chief for Woodson County. If you don't know where Woodson County is, we're about 80 miles south of Topeka and about 80 miles east of Wichita there. 3 up, 3 over from the corner of the southeast corner of the state. Our diversity of our county, we're kind of, like David talked, like we're kind of on the eastern edge of the Flint Hills. Our western half of our county is predominantly native grass. A little bit of farm ground scattered in, but predominantly native grass. Our eastern side, I don't know, maybe like 60% native grass, 40% farm ground. Closer you get to the eastern edge, it probably, might go the other way a little bit. But I don't know, we are starting to see more of the woody encroachment, the cedar infestation. Some of it's been there for years. Some of it, has just gotten worse in the last, 20 years or so. When he was talking about some of them pictures from, whenever it was up till now, the changes. There's an 80 out by where I live that I remember when I was a kid, they hayed the whole 80, and now the cedar trees are 15 to 20 foot tall all the way across it. They can't burn it because there's no grass. It's all cedars and broomweed. And it's just, and the landowner has continued to stock the same number of cattle. It's just, so that place, at one time it could have been easily taken care of. And now it's like, they go in and spend a half a day every year clipping a few trees and, they might get through it. I don't know. But that's kind of what we're dealing with around there. There's some of them, the landowners that do a really good job taking care of their property, taking care of their grass. But we have 4 lakes, and I'm going to pick on the lake people. We have 4 lakes in the southwest Yates Center, from Yates Center to Toronto, and more and more of them, they buy a few acres. They want their trees, they want their grass. They don't care if the cedars grow it. They got 10 acres, 5 acres, 20 acres, whatever it is, and won't graze it. But yet they want to burn it, and sometimes they do a good job, but a lot of times they plan their burn 2-3 weeks ahead of time. I'm coming back on the second weekend and we're going to burn no matter what the conditions are. Sometimes it works out for them, sometimes it don't. But what we see in them, it may not always be the cedars. It might be blackjacks and oaks and knee-high leaves around their houses and stuff like that. It might be the grass that's shoulder head high that they don't graze. And it might be, a lot of times it's access. They have a path back in there. When there is a fire, can you get a truck back in there? You might be able to get your little trucks, but can you get your big trucks? So a lot of that stuff, hinders us when it comes to putting out fires. And I guess kind of what I ask myself is like, I'll ask you, what is an uncontrollable fire? Personally, I feel like an uncontrollable fire should be something like from an act of God, Mother Nature. And that plays a very important role in it. But a lot of times these uncontrollable fires are caused by us. Our practices, putting your tree back in the middle of a patch of cedars, letting your ground grow up. The wind, the humidity, the temperature, all that stuff plays an effect. But as a property manager or an owner, a lot of it's negligence, or lack of knowledge, how dangerous it is to have that around your buildings or your property. And I'm like the one that's like, this is the first time I've ever given a slideshow, so bear with me. And I got notes, and everybody else had fancy slides. I got just, it looks like a flip book. But it took me 4 days to figure out how to make a slideshow. So, but yeah, but when you deal with an uncontrollable fire, you know, like some of you mentioned before, what part can you control? You can't control the weather. No, but you can control the fuel if you want to. And if you can give yourself a barrier and, you know, give yourself a little room to work. So I took a few, well, first off, I want to hit something else, I guess. Some of you were talking about dispatchers earlier, and I have the same argument. You know, some of them are great, some of them are okay, some of them want to run the show. They play an important role, but like Woodson County's, our burn regulations are pretty simple. I'm a firm believer, the least restrictions you put on the landowner, the better you're going to get along. You hear people always saying, well, if I can't burn out today, I'm just going to go throw a match and the fire department can take care of it. Well, and I heard people talking about, you know, designated wind speed, you know, as a shutoff point. In Woodson County, it's a red flag warning. If there's a red flag warning, there's no burning. Do I?
I said, which is wind speed and humidity.
Yes, but they both have to. You can have 40-mile-an-hour wind, but not have the humidity. I mean, you could still technically burn, I guess. And there's a few days that we put no burn deals on. I will call in. The commissioners have the authority to put on a long-term burn ban, but I have the authority to put on a day-to-day burn ban. And so most of the time, you know, like if there's a red flag warning, I call in, hey, no burning today in the county. A few times, you know, if you have really gusty winds, but just it don't quite meet the criteria for red flag warning, we'll put a burn ban on. But there's, I don't know, most of the guys in the county, in our county, do a really good job. You know, most of them have the equipment to take care of their fires. You know, we got ranchers that can burn in the 30-mile-an-hour wind, you know, having, you know, a safe area they can burn. So it's kind of one of them deals you don't want to let them just go do it because then the neighbor sees them burn. Well, they can burn, I can burn. But it's that fine line. But so yeah, and on another thing, like we have burn permits, don't cost nothing. It's a permanent permit now. It requires you to call in ahead of time prior to your burn. When we first started that, everybody hated it. You know, it's inconvenience to get a burn permit. You know, at that time it was year to year. You went and picked one up at the sheriff's office. It was an inconvenience. But what they don't realize, it saved the county quite a bit of money because it eliminated somebody unfamiliar with the area, out of towners going down the highway, just seeing a fire, picking up their phone. Hey, there's a fire out here, mile marker such and such. Well, when we didn't have the burn permits, nobody knew who was burning. So the fire department got paged. The fire department went out there just to see old Joe Blow burning his pasture. It's perfectly fine, no problems. It was contained, under control. But I guarantee, I bet you a fire truck can't leave the barn for under $100 a truck. And we pay our volunteers probably, you know, I mean, I know some do it for free. They get $20 a call. So time you pay 2 guys per truck, wear and tear on the truck, fuel. I mean, I just figured $100 bill when it leaves the barn. So it has saved money. And it has eliminated probably, I don't know, 90% of our false calls. I mean, when you go out, you're going out to do something. And then I also want to get on our burn permit. It says, you know, it talks about, you know, myself or the commission can issue a burn ban, but it also says you have to have adequate manpower and adequate equipment, which is very vague. You know, what I feel like is adequate equipment You know, you may not feel like it's adequate equipment, or you may feel like we go to some guys that got 10 acres and they got a pump up sprayer and a backpack. That's their adequate equipment. So it's just, I mean, part of
The
it's.
guy told me a story one time. He says, I saw Leo Baker control a backfire 5 miles long, a 5-gallon bucket of water for that bag.
And some people get along with it. I know some guys that they do a lot of it just, on foilers and side by sides. When we go to the pasture to burn, I got a pickup that holds 500 gallon, and I got either I pull a nurse trailer that holds 1,000, or I got 3,000 gallons sitting on my water truck at home that we spray with. I mean, I'd rather have too much than not enough. Sometimes it's overkill, but anymore, used to when you burnt your neighbor off, it was like, oh, don't worry about it, or you trade some hay out or whatever, and nowadays it's like, you're going to get sued or not. So people don't realize that, when you light that match and when you start your fire, that there is a significant risk and that somebody has to be responsible. So, and like this year, going into winter, spring, we've had 2 years of drought, not this year, but the previous 2 years. Nobody really burnt the last 2 years just because, grass was so valuable and it was a short supply, feed was in a short supply. We got more grass this year from all the rain than we've had as long as I can remember. A lot of these pastures out there, still head high blue stem. Hay meadows that were baled in July, or some of them are waist high again. So everybody and their dog is going to want to burn this spring if we can get through the winter. Our climate, I feel like, has changed. I remember, and maybe it's just because I pay more attention now, but I don't ever remember days that you have 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the spring. You had a windy day here and now, but it seems like anymore, we got red flag warning day a week, it seems like, in the springtime, sometimes multiple days a week. And maybe it's just because I pay attention more now, but it just seems like we're windier than we used to be. I guess I'm going to show you, like I said, this is a very poor slideshow, I suppose, but, I just took a few pictures of some, like this is a spot, this is a road in our county that's got really populated here the last few years, and just a couple miles out of town, but there's a house back up in there, and that's what it looks like. I mean, it never burns. It's just cedars and blackjacks. There's right across the road, there's a house back in there, and these are nice houses. I mean, this is their permanent house. They wanted to get out of town. They built these, but they can be problems. The next thing I talked about access, that's the driveway. I mean, yeah, you can get up there with your small trucks, but our tanker trucks and stuff, I mean, our one can get up in there. The semi, I mean, you're going to be knocking over trees on the corner to making your corners. So access is a big deal in some of these. We were at a fire the other day, or a few months ago, and it didn't have anything to do with being an out of control wildfire. It's a barn fire. But the guy, that's so much clutter in your yard. Once you pulled one truck in there and it ran out of water, a couple more got behind. You couldn't get out. So you were, pumping water from the road to fill trucks several hundred feet, because otherwise you'd have to move a half dozen to get one out. It was just so cluttered. So accessibility is a big deal. This is another one. This is actually in Greenwood County, but we were over here a few years ago. There's a house up here, and the fire came from the south on a windy day, and all them cedars are, 20, 30, 40 foot tall. It was like little Colorado back in there. Granted, we got it out, but, it took a lot of work and a lot of manpower. Now, this is probably the elephant in the room, but that's the nursing home there on the south side of Yates Center. And that is all cedar trees directly south of it. Now, there might be, I don't know, right here, 30, maybe 50 foot, maybe right there. Me and the city fire chief, the previous city fire chief, had talked for years about that being a problem, you know, if it ever gets in there. And we've had some close calls. Like here's, it zooms out a little bit further. Right south of them cedars, there's another house. And from that, this driveway right here, that kind of, I don't know, borders that property versus some of the City 8 Center's property. And that zooms out a little bit more. So this is the old reservoir down here. And this is all just ungrown or unmanaged grass. You know, they don't farm it, they don't hay it. Sometimes they burn it, but most of the time it's unintentional. But you get across the road up there, they got some campers that they got in here. The golf course is over here. But we've had multiple fires over the years that started down in here somewhere, but we managed to get them stopped at that driveway. Kind of hairy a few times, but we got it stopped. Well, go back to March 14th this spring. The weather for the day, they were talking like highs in the low 80s, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, gustings higher. At 2:05 that day, we got called to a large grass fire south of Gridley, which is in our northwest part of the county. Later that day, it was recorded they were 77 mile an hour wind gusts. Well, ended up majority, 2/3 of my rural fire guys were on that fire, along with Coffee County units. Some City 8 Center was on their way out there. We blackened about 2,500 acres in a matter of a couple hours. You know, chased it about 5 miles. You know, got lucky, it hit a big creek, kind of, but no houses or nothing like that. Well, that was at 2:05, and at 3:23 that afternoon, they had a call about a fire southwest of the nursing home. So at 3:23, the city fire got called, and they had trucks en route to help us in the northwest part of the county, which was about, 15, 20 miles out. So they turned their truck around, and by the time they had some guys in town there that got there just a minute or two later, and the fire was already at that road to that house. But the other side of the road was grass like this, and they fought it, couldn't keep it, couldn't control it, couldn't hold it. At 3:27, they paged mutual aid for Woodson County, Allen County, Wilson County, Iola, and Chanute. At 3:37, this was 13 minutes, 14 minutes after the call came in, they had all the residents evacuated out of the nursing home. I think there was 38 of them. But so, and at the same time, there are spot fires starting in town ahead of the fire. That's just another big view. I don't know, see if this will play. This is where it gets, got to go to YouTube now and watch an advertisement probably. Maybe it ain't gonna work, I don't know. Let's see here. I ain't just doing that. Well, pretty interesting, huh?
Wow.
Well, where's the IT person here?
Go Shannon.
Might be better on the mediocre.
Okay, so this is, it went to YouTube, but like it won't. It did earlier, but well, hold on here. Let's try something. You're saying way more words than I have any idea what you're saying. I won't even play that, will it? Okay.
Which is weird because it should play your screen.
I was just thinking if you could find a hyperlink, you could just copy and paste it in a browser.
Okay, that's the deal.
Well, yeah, because they brought it up, so I'm wondering why it should be showing the screen that's up front.
You know what the name of the
I don't know. You want to?
channel is on YouTube?
The name of the channel? No. I mean, it shows a whole YouTube page right here. This is why I don't do this stuff.
Shrink that. Your PowerPoint is. Yeah, let's see if we can. Where's the cursor?
It's hidden.
It is because I'm like, where's it?
Having an intermission.
You see, oh, bottom left.
Bottom right.
Okay. That's just bizarre.
Here, let's do this. That work now.
I don't even have a mouse. So, yeah, it's really strange.
Now we're going the wrong way.
Okay.
Okay. Let's.
Yeah, you can't even get back to your thing there. Okay. And you hit escape and it didn't work? Okay.
Oh, there we got a cursor at least.
Okay. I was
Alright,
gonna say,
okay.
yeah, there. Shrink that down.
Shrink
Yeah,
this.
shrink it down and see if. Yes. Okay. Pop your.
It's on this slide.
Right, but where is the? It pops up a website. So what just popped up? YouTube. So it popped up YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd it go?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you?
Let's do this here.
If you go into your browser again,
Yeah.
just go to history.
Okay.
Bring up the link.
Go ahead.
Do you use Microsoft Edge?
I don't know. I don't use a computer very much. This is like
You know
really
what?
new.
Let's do this because.
Nothing there.
Right, but if you go to the.
History.
Right there. Okay.
Okay, try that. That's not it, but it might be an advertisement.
Maybe.
Let's go back. Can we go back?
Maybe or.
You know the name of it? Type that in.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
No. You can go forward. Go forward one so it takes back to YouTube.
I didn't write down the area because I thought there was no name because I thought it was in here.
Right. We can look at it again.
Let's do this here. Can we search it?
Yep, you can search it.
Okay, we'll figure it out here somewhere. Here we go. That's not the one I was going to show. There it is, right there. Okay. Now, can I make it bigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, here we go. So this was coming in right after the call came in. This was the fire. This is coming north on 75 into Yates Center. Granted, the nursing home is not on fire yet. That's just the cedars. And I don't know how many minutes that was after the fire department got there. You know, at this time, okay. So at that time, you know, they're still trying to evacuate people. There was fire department guys, EMS guys, sheriff's, just people stopping by to help. And they said the flames were going over the top of the building as they were evacuating. So that was the scene. And then, like I said, at this time, the majority of the county guys, I don't know where the other one went to, but may have been this one, maybe. No, I gotta watch an ad now. It's been way easier if my video just played. But I don't know if this ain't it. My presentation wasn't going to be very long. It's getting longer now. This was the other one. So this was a little bit later, a few hours later. What they think. I mean, at one time, they thought that that the fire was, out. I mean, they thought they were good. They didn't think it was on fire. And that's my last video. So, so I'll have to go back through here probably because I don't know how to do this very good. So yeah, at one time, they thought the fire was out. They didn't think it was on fire because we were getting ready to send trucks back. We were kind of at the spot we could free up a few people. We're like, hey, we could send you guys some more help. Oh, I think we're good. Well, they weren't good. But, and at about the same time as that fire coming, when you was driving up the highway from south of town, this is what it looked like from the gun club, which is about a mile southwest. Still going through the cedars. So it's pretty impressive. I mean, not if you're a fireman, but so at this point, the county fire has roughly 30 firemen for the whole county. We cover, I don't know, almost 500 square miles. The city has about 20, Yates Center City. And this is middle of the day, and we are spread thin. Because at this time, we're still got, a bunch of guys up on the other one. But, so this is what it looked like at the four-way looking south. And as this time, I mean, there's spot fire. There's a picture of the next day. But you can see at the top of the screen and stuff, I mean, is that little pointer? The laser work no matter what? Oh, yeah. Okay, so like right there, over there. I mean, all these little spot fires that are coming off of this. That's across the highway looking east, a couple houses, burnt there. There was houses way up here, that had spot fires. Embers landed in wood piles and stuff and trees. That's just, again, of the highway. That's what's left of the cedars behind the nursing home the next day. Same thing. Okay, here's that other house. This is the road that they tried to hold it on. How it didn't burn that house, I don't know. The only thing I can think of, the grass was so short and the wind was blowing so hard, I think it was having trouble staying lit in that short grass. Because, I mean, it burnt, it burnt right up to it. I mean, pretty much. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we're right here, if this is where maybe it looks like maybe they got some water on this side of the road, possibly got it cooled down where it didn't burn all that right there. Maybe they got that cooled down enough it didn't light them first cedars. And
There's a 70-mile-an-hour wind that blew it under the trees, maybe?
it could have, I don't know. Like I said, this was all mowed right here. This wasn't. This all over here was, just like your normal CRP grass with scrub brush and everything else in it. So whether it burnt under the trees, whether it slowed down enough right here from them soaking the stuff down, trying to hold it, cooled it off enough it didn't catch right away, I don't know. Except at this point, this is second day, but when it was on fire, when we got wrapped up with the other fire, it was, late in the afternoon when I got there. And when I got there, I didn't know the nursing home was gone. And I still thought they kind of had it under control the way it talked. But so there's just a little broader area. There's these, still the spot fires here. This piece here was a guy owned it. It's just full of cedars too, but it was part of that was backfire that night. There's a more overview where the smoke is there. The city had somebody in there chipping a bunch of trees and stuff, and that's all wood chips they dumped out in the middle of that stuff. The fire, hold on here. The fire originated, keep poking the wrong button, right in there. 99% probability, the fire marshal said it was likely, was a brush pile that people from town have been hauling brush out there to. The city let them dump it, and they lit it on fire a few days before. But it just, come across there, like a racehorse. There's just another overview. That's down there, the ignition point. This is the golf course. This is all same thing. Grass, just like over here, they don't do nothing with, just grows up. This over here, there was an old barn here that burnt down, and this was a tire baling facility previously. If this would have happened 5 years ago, I don't know. There had been 20 acres of nothing but tire bales on this. There's still some, but thousands of semi-loads of tire bales. Like 180 to 100 bales per tire, or per bale, 80 per 100 tires per bale. There's just another overview. Same way, this is from the north looking south. There's another picture of that house, how it burnt. And the funny thing was, after this was all on fire, like I said, I don't think there was any tracks really in this yard, like where they put it out. It just blew itself out. There's another view of it. There's more of the wood chips. And like I said, a lot of these are kind of repetitive, but just kind of shows. This is kind of looking kind of from where the fire started, back down in here. That's the driveway to that house. House is over here.
You said it was 13 minutes between report and contact at the nursing home?
I don't know exactly contact. Well, okay, take that back. I do know. On the log that I seen, they said that the nursing home was ignited at 3:44. So that had been 20 minutes after the fire was reported. Now, this is not a big fire. By no means.
So do you think that the ember started the nursing home or the contract?
I would say somehow, attic vent. I think it got in the attic, and then once it got in the attic, it just went from one end to the other. So, I'm fairly certain that something got in the attic, an ember, because at one time they thought they had the fire out. They couldn't find no fire, and it's all one layer or one level, except for a little bit of, yeah, or something, yeah, and then next thing you know, it's going. Gust. 77 was what they reported in Burlington that afternoon. So.
It's actually very rare that a flame front actually take a building. It's usually an ember.
Yeah. So, I mean, but like, you know, I don't know. There was one kid on the city fire department that was saying that when they were getting people out, that he goes, I've never been so scared in my life. He goes, the flames were going over the top of the building, you know, and it, because most of the time, you know, whether it's a vehicle or whatever, you know, if your fire truck gets stuck, you stay in it. You know, most of the time the fire will go right past you. You stay in the truck and it won't hurt the truck, very seldom, you know. But so I would say something got in the attic and ember through a gable vent, through an E vent, you know, something. And because at one time that building had like sprinkler systems, it looked like in the attic. I mean, looked like there were sprinkler systems in there at one time. I don't know if what happened to them. They froze and broke years ago and they didn't ever fix them. But there was piping, it looked like in the rubble, for that. So this is just more overview. There's where their burn pile was, right there. And that's just, at the same time all this was happening, you know, we were getting multiple calls, which we had all, by this time, you know, we had surrounding counties, towns here. We were getting like multiple little hotspot fire reports inside town. Embers landed in their yards. Out in the county, we've had several that day. So we're trying to, you know, they're trying to find somebody to send somebody with, because like all the out of town people, I mean, you get out in the county, they don't know where they're going or whose house or where our road system exactly. But we managed. There's just another one of where the burn pile was. That's the barn. That's the tire baling facility. There's a row of tires there, and some more tires there. There's a few of these. Some of them were videos. I couldn't get them to upload, but they were like infrared or thermals of the tire bales. They got state aid in on this, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan, but I mean, I get it. You know why? I mean, the city guys were they were really getting their butts kicked on the building itself. You know, they were tired. You know, there was only, you know, probably 5 or 6, 7 times the size of the actual house fire they're trying to combat. They were taxed. But there was people come in from up Kansas City, Overland Park, Olathe. And that night we were working on this area here. We can't put out these tire bales. You know, they brought in a foam trailer and they wanted to put out the tires. I'm like, well, first of all, we were thinking they had a faulty reading on their water tower that said we were at 10% of our water tower. So we ended up, that wasn't correct. We found out later, but we didn't have the water capability to run their foam trailer to put out them tires. So some of my guys and some of the surrounding county guys, we come up here and we backfired all of this and lit off a bunch more cedars. And, you know, some of like the Kansas City task force guys, they did not like that. I mean, they were all upset. But, you know, I just told them, I said, we don't have the manpower. You know, these tire bales are going to burn for days. You know, we got 500 square miles to worry about tomorrow. So, you know, this was a quick fix. You know, they're already on fire. We're not putting them out, let them burn, let them clean themselves up. So I kind of feel like that on this deal, you know, what could we have done differently? If we wouldn't have had the other fire going at the same time, could we have saved the structure? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Because like I said, all Woodson County is all volunteer, you know, so nobody's at the building waiting to go. I mean, everybody knew this day was going to be windy and nasty and everything like that. So, I mean, a lot of my guys, you know, figured something would happen before the day was. Hoping it wouldn't, but figured it would. But like I said, I don't think anything could have, you know, changed the outcome on this deal. Now, let me And that's just, I'll hit this first before I go back. But it's like 115 acres. That's all bigger it was. I mean, and probably 30 of that, was backfired. So it wasn't a huge fire. But they figured at $4.48 million is what the cost of it was versus, yeah, exactly. And I mean, everybody talked how bad it was, and it is bad. But it could have been way worse. To get all the people out in the time they did, and I think it was, the best case scenario for what happened. For what they were dealt, I think they've done a really good job of getting them all out. So I think, and that's kind of what it looks like now. The nursing home set here, and that's just a bunch of trees, dead trees. But so I'll do that here. So I was going to look at something here. Okay. A few years ago, when we were talking about the dangers of this zone here, because we said, if it ever got in that, there's no way we could control it. The previous landowner that had this before, because this is the nursing home's property here, and this is a private individual. They talked about going in, they didn't want to lose all their trees, but they, making a buffer, dozing out, I don't know how many, 100 yards, 50 yards, 100 feet, I don't know what it was, but way better. It may not have been perfect, but way better than it was. But it changed hands again and it never got done. So I guess my uncontrollable deal, the wind speed, the temperature, the humidity all played a factor in this, but the elephant in the room is right there. If them weren't there, or half of them weren't there, the nursing home would probably still be there. They are planning on rebuilding, which is very surprising for Yates Center, Kansas. But that's kind of what I was getting at. A lot of our uncontrollable fires are, in my opinion, man-made. There's other factors that go into it that may start the fire, may push the fire, but a lot of times things that we could do as property owners, tenants, whatever, could make that fire where, it was controllable. Anybody got any questions?
How far back do you think that had to been? They cut 100 feet back?
I don't know if 100 feet would have cut it that day. Like when you look at the video, like when it was coming south of, or coming into town from the south or from the golf course. them flames are probably 100 foot in the air. I know heat rises, but maybe 100 foot back, from there. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see what 30%, just taking 30% of the vegetation.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about just a buffer, just taking 30%, 60% of the vegetation that's on that area.
You mean taking part of it out?
Just thinning it.
Well, but
thinning it.
In that area, I don't know if it'd been any different, because if they took 30 to 50% out, it's still going to be not used. So there's still going to be head-high grass between the trees. It's just going to ignite the next tree, and you're still at, 30 to 50 foot here. I don't know that the outcome, it may have, I don't know it, but may have been different. I don't know.
How do you need 30%?
She meant 30% less of the trees in this area.
How do you do that functionally? I don't understand.
Well, I'm a tree hater, so I'd say take them all. But
I'm talking about that. If you've ever been in a fire truck when an evergreen takes off and being close to it, it scares the dog.
it's just like throwing gas on it. But that day when we came back from the fire in the northwest part of the county, I don't know, like I said, how many of you are familiar with that down there, but like about 3 miles north of the nursing home on 75, there's an old feedlot goes over the hill there. On the north side of that feedlot, we were getting embers, flakes of just burnt material falling out of the sky. It looked like it was snowing, but it was black and everything. I mean, didn't see them glowing, but they were dropping and everything. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, at one time they were going to come in there and remove, a good chunk of them just to protect the nursing home. But like I said, this was probably the, I don't know, third or fourth or fifth time that we'd had a fire down in this area that threatened it. We got lucky the rest of the times, and this time just, luck wasn't in our favor, and we were kind of dealt a bad hand to start with. But so yeah, I don't know the answer to that. If half the trees of them were gone, if it made a difference or not. Any other questions? Probably do better at answering questions than I do going through slides, but guess that's all I got. You don't have any questions?